everyone. Everybody here that's supposed to be here?
Yeah, we are missing Bobby, but we can start. We have 6.
Okay. Here you go. What time is it? What time is it?
129.
1:29. One more minute to go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is November the 1st of the Zoning Board of Adjustments meeting. Looks like we have a quorum. Need to talk about the minutes.
We had an issue with our networks, and so the minutes will be ready for next month. So if you
Okay.
want to,
All right, that's
move
item
forward.
number 2. We'll move on. Item number 3, ZBA 21-28, 2354 Fisherman's Road, Single Member District 1, Tommy Hebert. A request for approval of a variance from section 501.A of the zoning ordinance to allow for a front yard setback of 7 feet in lieu of the required minimum 25 feet in order to construct a carport within the single-family residential RS1 zoning district located at 2354 Fisherman's Road. Good afternoon, Jeff.
Good afternoon, Chair Cortese, ZBA members. This is our only case today. Jeff Fisher, Chief Planner. This is ZBA 2128. The property address is 2354 Fisherman's Road. Pretty straightforward. The applicant just wants to put a carport in his front yard. So this is west of Knickerbocker in District 1, Tommy Hebert, in the Nasworthy neighborhood. We sent 9 notifications and we received 2 back in favor. To show some pictures of the area. So this is a very unique area, and there's lots of spots in Lake Nasworthy like this where there was a city access easement that was dedicated because they platted the lots and they had a much narrower street. And so through dedications, through subdivision plats, some of these areas, I mean, it could narrow down to 20 feet, but even then that's pretty substantial. And it sometimes widens up to 60 or even 70 feet of an access easement. In this case, he's one of the shorter lots, but he's still got about 30 feet on one side, 33 on the other side. So essentially, he wants a 7-foot front yard setback, but it's really 7 plus he's got the additional 30 feet. So it's really still like a 37-foot front yard setback. That doesn't mean we would support it in all cases, but we are supporting this one, and I'll go over that criteria in a moment. This is looking north at the subject property, so the carport would be built right in front of that garage with the white painted doors. And then this is looking west on Fisherman's Road, and then east on Fisherman's Road. So you also have large trees, mostly mesquite, that were cover some of that view as you're driving along, as well as shrubs and fences right up to the front yard lot line. South is a park area that's not being developed. These are some of the other variances. So I looked at that whole Fisherman's Road block, which is probably about maybe 40 lots or more. And I found 5 properties that had variances, probably in the last 20 years. And some of them range from a 0-foot setback, which is 2310 Fisherman's Road, down to maybe a 6-foot setback, or excuse me, a 10-foot setback on 2330 Fisherman's. Most of these were for carports. Some of them were for additions. I think here's a good example. That one was, some of these were approved and some of these were grandfathered or legal non-conforming. So the one to the left did get approved by a previous ZBA board, and then 2314 was not approved. That was a legal non-conforming before annexation. But you kind of get the idea and the pattern of a lot of the carports or structures kind of coming out into the front. So there's the 2 letters in support that we received. An immediate next door neighbor to the left, and then the neighbor 2 houses down to the right. So there's the concept plan that the applicant provided. This is going to go with their building permit as well. So they recently got permitted for 2 additions you can see in the back. Back here in the Lake Nasworthy board gave them a variance because they're less than 75 feet from the lake. That's out of our jurisdiction, but we're just noting that. Here's the front yard setback of 7 feet that they want, and there's another 30 feet over here in this side, this corner to the street pavement's 33 feet. So you can see it's fairly substantial in the front. This property too is a little bit less wide than some of the other ones. That was another justification that staff recommended. Typically the other lots, this is still 93 feet wide, but some of them are 110, or maybe the houses are shorter, so there's no way to get to the backyards. These are fenced in. and build a driveway. So his only option, if he wants to do the carport, is in the front. Staff looked at the criteria for a variance and also the new state criteria that's been added that hasn't been in our ordinance yet. This month, none of the state criteria really applied, but the current criteria that we use, which is size, shape, area, topography, and the one I bolded, and surrounding conditions, that's the one we believe applies here. The access easement gives them the additional frontage, and therefore it makes sense to support the variance. So we reviewed in terms of 207D, 207F, and the state criteria. Again, the city access easement acts as a special circumstance. So really, even with the variance, it's still 37 feet from the street. Most infill RS1 zoning, it's 25 feet. Even if they had a 10-foot right-of-way, that would be 35. So this is still even longer than that. It's not the result of the applicant. They purchased the property, the Odoms, in 2017, but the county had annexed this and platted in 2002, so it was much earlier. Other properties on the street were granted similar variances, and we don't believe it will affect the adjacent land. So staff recommends approval of a variance from 501A of the zoning ordinance to allow for a front yard setback of 7 feet in lieu of the required 25 feet in order to construct a carport within the RS1 zoning, subject to 4 conditions of approval. The applicant shall obtain a building permit. Carport shall have a minimum of 7 feet from the finished floor level, open and unencumbered by any wall, screening, or glazing. That's something important too. If they wanted to just start filling in their front yard with permanent structures with solid walls, it's going to block the view. But with 2 and 3, and that's very similar, if you're in an infill area and you're in an open structure overlay, you can actually go to 5 feet in the front yard. It's Lake Nasworthy, they didn't get that, likely because they came in after the ordinance and also because they had those access easements. So if you were in the city limits in an older neighborhood, if you built that carport to look like the house, essentially, the same roof line, color, and material, you could already go to 5 feet without having to come here. So they're going back 7 feet, again, with the access easement kind of serves. They'll have to remain clear of junk, household trash, yard debris underneath it. The fourth one, and I need to put Brendan on the spot, but my director asked me to check, and he was in the sidewalk meeting this morning, so I mimicked the language from the open structure zone, and this was in another case on the street where basically we're okay with this carport, but we don't want him to come back in with other variances, start filling up his whole front yard. We're okay this time, but not going forward. And so we just said that any future variances shall not allow more than 30% of the required front yard to be covered with buildings or structures. And I guess the question is, can we do that because this is not really applicable to this case, or can we say any future variances and still tie it to this one? If the answer is no, we'll remove that condition.
I mean, if that's not based on a current ordinance or standard, I would say no. But, I mean, are you saying that 30% requirement is somewhere in our code, or?
It's in the open structure zone, so we believe that there's a rational nexus to try and maintain at least 70% of the front yard should be open without buildings and structures. However, the question is, they're right at about 28% right now, so essentially close to 30 already. What this is essentially saying is that if they come in for another ZBA variance 5 years from now, they won't be able to build in their front yard. And I don't know if we can't do that, we'll take it out. If we can do it, we'll leave it.
I guess it seems like it would be addressed that second variance.
Okay.
I mean, if they would exceed that during the second variance, then it would be a denial, or, you know, it's contrary to the ordinance. So I don't know. I'd have to research it and look into it. I can't give you a definitive answer here, but I would lean to not putting that condition on it and let that be handled if there's a later variance.
Yeah, we had the first one on the corner, it was 2004. They got an approval, and the ZBA in 2004 said you can't basically maintain a side yards of 15 feet and 10 feet, which was basically what was left over. And then they came in and added more, and staff kind of used that argument to say, well, it should apply to future variances. And I don't know if it did or it didn't. All I know is that the ZBA ended up approving the second one anyway. So I think I'm with Brendan. If we need to take it out, let's just keep 3 conditions.
Do with the 3 conditions?
Yeah, so the building permit, number 1, maintaining a 7-foot clearance, which is usually your standard height for a carport without walls, and then no household trash, yard debris, or anything underneath it. Because we don't want to open up the door and say, hey, everybody in Lake Nasworthy, because you've got a 25 or 30-foot setback, you can just fill up your front yard. But
Jump.
we think in this case it's a reasonable request. He has absolutely no place to put this. So,
Okay.
I'm supposed to ask any questions for staff, but he's already answered them, I guess. Any questions for Jeff?
Did a good job.
Thank you, Jeff.
okay.
Any public comment? There being none, any board comments? We're easy today. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I hear a second? Second.
Second, and that's with the conditional of approval for the top three items, top three conditions. Does that sound right? Yes.
They're gonna get rid of the fourth one.
Huh?
They're gonna get
They're
rid of
gonna
number
really,
four.
I just got to talk. Sounds good.
Okay, we have a second. Any more comments before we take the vote? All right, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Next item is division report. Item number 4.
We don't have anything for you today.
Okay, thank you. Item number 5, next meeting agenda, Monday, December the 6th, 1:30 p.m. Is there anything in the works? Can we go ahead and take off for the holidays?
Not at the time, no.
Okay. All right, let's have a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute.
Apologize,
Where were
Commissioner
you?
Corchi. I was hiding over here.
Oh, okay.
I know we may have a case in December, we're not sure, but I'm also looking at that January meeting. It looks like it's scheduled January the 3rd. I don't know if that makes an impact to y'all's holidays, festivities. I know for Bill it might, you never know with Bill. But just be aware, if we don't have a meeting in December, that one's gonna kind of surprise us. We'll go through the holiday season and then, oh, by the way, ZBA is right there. So be thinking of that if you have any suggestions or, hey, let's move it 1 week or something.
And that should be a city holiday. Calendar may have been created last year, so we will correct that. And I'm thinking probably January the 10th
Okay.
would be the meeting in January. Thanks, Aaron.
Well, I think the Friday the 31st is the holiday, the 3rd we actually get to come to work.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Is everybody good with the 3rd if it ends up staying the 3rd?
Yep,
Okay.
so it's staying third.
They're good with it, fine with me.
Okay. We were right.
And Jeff, I think I told you that I would not be here on December 6th. I have some training I have to take,
Okay.
and so I know I'm not going to be here that day.
Candy Pool needs training? For what?
Well, TAR says I do, so.
Oh, okay.
And you all have, honestly, you've had great attendance so far, and we appreciate you. Just one note, and this is the board bylaws. This goes for the other boards, too, that we look at. You can miss up to 4 meetings in a rolling 12-month period, but you can't miss 5 within 12 months. And we usually keep track of those. So I don't think anyone here is in any danger, but just FYI.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.